Have you ever noticed that the most consistent people in the world don't talk about motivation? They don't wake up every day feeling inspired. They don't wait for the perfect moment. They simply show up and do what needs to be done every single day. No negotiation. While some wait to feel the urge, these people have already done it. While many seek cheap motivation in YouTube videos, these people have already trained, studied, and performed. And when some ask how these people do it, the answer is never about feelings. It's about something much older and much deeper. In 10th century Japan, during the Heian period, there was a concept that separated ordinary men from legendary ones. This concept didn't speak of physical strength, nor of intelligence. This concept spoke of something the Japanese called Yamato Damashii, the Japanese spirit, the soul that moves the body even when the mind wants to stop. This concept built unbeatable warriors. It created generals who changed history, and it was brutally distorted centuries later during World War II, when the Japanese government used it for militaristic propaganda and extreme nationalism. But the original essence of Yamato Damashii had nothing to do with war or empire. It was about one simple and devastatingly powerful thing: duty over sentiment. Today, you'll discover what this ancient concept really means and how it can transform you from someone who knows a lot but does little into someone who simply can't stop taking action. I need to make something clear here before we begin. There are two types of motivation: cheap motivation, which we can call excitement, and there is motivation that is important, which is the reason for action. We can call this second motivation ikigai. In this video, we're going to talk about how the first type of motivation, which is excitement, doesn't have the power to get you where you need to be. Before we go to the video, I invite you to subscribe to Purpose and Presence Hub, like it below, and comment. What's the action you put off the most in your life? What's the plan you want to achieve and already know exactly what to do, but always stop and seek more knowledge before acting? Leave a comment, but also help others who comment. Let's create a community of people who help each other and want everyone to improve. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Year 950, Heian period, Japan. Tadayoshi was 24 years old and had already read more books than men of 60. The son of a noble family, he had access to Chinese classics, Buddhist texts, and the teachings of Confucius. While other young nobles wasted their time on parties and poetry, Tadayoshi studied military strategy, battle tactics, and the philosophy of war. He had a dream to become a great warrior, perhaps even a general who would change the fate of Japan. But he had a devastating problem. He couldn't act. Every morning, Tadayoshi woke with grand plans. Today would be the day. Today, he would begin real training. Today, he would pick up his sword and train until his hands bled. But then something would happen. He would find a new book, a text on a technique he hadn't yet fully mastered. And he would think, how can I train without fully understanding the theory first? He read, he studied, he memorized. And when he finally felt ready to act, the day was over. Tomorrow, he promised himself. Tomorrow I'll start. The household servants began to whisper. The other nobles laughed behind their backs. Tadayoshi, the warrior of books, they mocked. He can kill you with knowledge, but never with a sword. The truth hurt because it was real. He had enough technical knowledge to train soldiers, but he himself had never sweated, never felt the burn in his muscles after hours of training, never faced the real discomfort that turns theory into skill. His father, a stern man who had served as a military advisor, looked at him one day and said something that would break any man. "You have the head of a general and the heart of a scribe. Knowledge without action is worthless. You are a ghost pretending to be alive." Tadayoshi didn't sleep that night. His father's words echoed like thunder. He knew it was true. All that knowledge, all those years of studying, and he remained exactly the same, weak, hesitant, trapped inside his own head. The next morning, something different happened. He didn't open a book. He left. Tadayoshi walked aimlessly through the forest near his family's estate. The air was chilly. The sun had barely risen. He didn't know what he was looking for. Maybe clarity, maybe an excuse to get back to his books. That's when he heard it. A rhythmic, repetitive sound, metal cutting through air, wood hitting wood. He followed the sound to a small clearing, and there stood a man. He must have been around 50, with graying hair tied back in a simple bun, his body marked by old scars. He moved with a wooden sword, performing the same movements over and over, hundreds of times. The same cut, the same posture, the same breathing. Tadayoshi watched, mesmerized. There was no emotion on the man's face, no expression of effort or pleasure, just movement, pure, constant, relentless. When the man finally stopped, Tadayoshi approached. "Master," he began, using the term of respect without even knowing if the man deserved the title. "I've watched you train. You have a discipline I've never seen. Please teach me." The man looked him over from head to toe. He saw the fine clothes, the soft hands, the posture of someone who had never worked a day. "No," he said simply, and began to turn away. "Wait," Tadayoshi despaired. "I've studied all the techniques. I know Sun Tzu. I know the strategies of Chinese generals. I can learn quickly." The man stopped. He turned slowly. His eyes were hard as stone. "You know techniques? Good. Use them yourself." And he continued walking. Tadayoshi felt something burn in his chest. Shame, anger, desperation. "Please," he cried, "I need to change. I need to become more than I am." The man stopped again. This time, he was silent for a long time. Finally, without turning around, he said, "You're going to give up." "I won't," Tadayoshi replied immediately. "Everyone gives up. I am not going." The man turned. He studied Tadayoshi's face. He saw despair there. But despair wasn't enough. Despair was just another feeling, and feelings pass. But perhaps this young noble needed to figure this out for himself. "Tomorrow," the man said, "before sunrise here. If you show up, I'll consider teaching you. If you don't ever come back." Tadayoshi nodded fervently. "I'll be here, I promise." The man almost laughed. Promises, as if promises meant anything. Tadayoshi didn't sleep that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the man's stern face. He heard the voice. "You're going to give up." He couldn't give up. Not this time. He arrived at the clearing an hour before dawn. It was dark and cold. He waited, shivering, until the first rays of sunlight touched the trees. The man appeared like a ghost without a sound. Suddenly, he was simply there. He looked at Tadayoshi with something that might have been surprise or disappointment. It was hard to tell. "You came," the man said. It wasn't a compliment. It was an observation. I said I would come. Words, the man murmured. Today I will find out if you have anything more than words. What followed was hell. The man who finally revealed his name as Kaido started simply. A basic stance, crouching, knees bent, back straight, arms extended, holding a wooden sword. This position, he explained, was the foundation of everything. How long? Tadayoshi asked. Until I tell you to stop. 2 minutes later, Tadayoshi's legs were shaking. 5 minutes later, he was in a cold sweat. 10 minutes later, every fiber of his body screamed to move, to straighten, to stop. Master, I don't. Silence, Kaido cut in. He was sitting on a rock staring at Tadayoshi with the same impassive expression. Your mind is telling you to stop. It lies. 15 minutes. Tadayoshi felt tears in his eyes, not of sadness, of pure physical agony. I can't. Stop, Kaido said suddenly. Tadayoshi slumped forward, breathing as if he'd run a marathon. His legs wouldn't stop shaking. He looked at Kaido, hoping for what? Understanding, encouragement. What he saw was disappointment. 15 minutes, Kaido said. And you already want to give up? Do you think battles last 15 minutes? Do you think enemies wait for you to get comfortable? Tadayoshi lowered his head. The shame was overwhelming. Go home, Kaido said, standing up. You don't have what it takes. Something broke inside Tadayoshi. No. Something woke up. No, he said, forcing himself to stand on shaky legs again. I'll do it again. Kaido looked at him with new interest. You think motivation will save you? This anger you feel now, it will pass. Tomorrow you'll wake up and you won't want to go back. I'll be back. Why? Kaido asked. It wasn't a rhetorical question. It was a test. Tadayoshi opened his mouth, closed it. He had no answer. Why would he come back? Because he wanted to be a warrior. Because he was ashamed. These were feelings. And Kaido was right. Feelings pass. You don't know, Kaido said. And because you don't know, you won't last. He began walking away. Wait, Tadayoshi shouted. Tell me then. Tell me why I should go back. Kaido stopped. He turned around slowly. Because it's your duty. Duty? Tadayoshi repeated, confused. Duty to whom? With yourself. With the man you promised to become. Motivation is a feeling. Duty is an order. Feelings change with the wind. Duty remains even in the storm. Kaido took another step and then stopped again. We Japanese have a word for that. Yamato Damashii. The Japanese spirit. It's not about feeling like it. It's about doing it because it's who you are. Tadayoshi returned the next day. Not because he wanted to. His entire body ached. His legs could barely support his weight. Every muscle protested. But he remembered Kaido's words. Duty remains even in the storm. Kaido was there waiting. This time, his face showed something different. Not approval, but recognition. You're back, he said. I said I'd be back. Yesterday you said it with emotion. Today you say it with weariness. Which is truer? Tadayoshi thought. Today, he admitted. Exactly. Yesterday, you were motivated. Today, you're doing your duty. One disappears, the other doesn't. Kaido made him assume the same posture as yesterday. This time, before he began, he explained, Yamato Damashii isn't something you feel. It's something you do until you become who you do. What did you study in the books? Kaido asked as Tadayoshi held his posture. Battle strategies? Tadayoshi replied through gritted teeth. Tactics, formations. And that made you a warrior? No. Why not? Tadayoshi didn't respond immediately. He was focused on the pain. Because I didn't act. Partially correct, Kaido said. All that studying you did is valuable. The classics teach strategy. They teach wisdom. But there's an old saying, knowledge is of little use without Yamato Damashii. Do you know what that means? Kaido continued. It means you can know how to win every battle in the world. But if you don't have the soul to show up on the battlefield, that knowledge is worthless. Yamato Damashii is the soul that turns knowledge into action. It's the spirit that keeps you moving when every part of you wants to stop. If you've watched this far on Purpose and Presence Hub, thank you very much for your attention. Subscribe to Purpose and Presence Hub for more content like this. See you in the next video.